Hey, it's Meg. Welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we would just have a bit of a relaxed craft with me session, but I also have a little bit of a tutorial that I wanted to show you because I started working on this journal and creating some new pages for it, and I thought it would be a fun idea to show you so that you can create this as well. Essentially what I have here are what I'm going to call patchwork pages. So if you like to work in larger size journals, or they're not big enough to put in a journal once you fold them in half, then a really great idea is to make these patchwork pages. So if you've seen my accordion no-sew journal, then this is kind of a similar technique to that, where we are going to be sort of assembling the pages using different scraps of paper. So what I have here are just 3 examples of some pages that I have constructed using different sizes of papers, different colours, and this is a really nice patchwork effect that you can give to your journal pages, and it kind of starts the ball rolling with different layouts and things that you can use. But I just think this is a really unique way of building up your journal pages. So you can see here, this is kind of the full page itself, and it's built up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different elements, and they look like this on either side. So for example, this piece that runs along the back here wasn't really big enough for what I wanted for this, so I decided then to kind of build out around it and create like a collaged page, or like a patchwork page as we're going to call it. This one here is the same sort of thing, except I used one piece just on one of the sides because I wanted to preserve this illustration. So this is a great way of using pages if you want them to be upright, even some illustrations that you don't want to have this way and then folded. Constructing these patchwork pages allows you to then keep that image, have it upright in your journal, and then just build the page. And you can use all sorts of different papers. So I've got some tea stained papers, some book pages. You can literally use anything to create your base. This one has inbuilt pockets, so it's a super simple technique, but it's a way that you can build in pockets to your pages. So I'll show you a way that we can do that. It's super easy, but you just incorporate the pockets into your page, and these can be like pockets that you've found, pockets that you've made, different envelopes. All you do is integrate it into your page. So you can see with this one, we've got lots of different papers going on here. This side element is actually a large envelope. So I've used this as one of my patchwork pieces, and then it immediately becomes then a pocket within the page itself. So I've not added anything to the page is the pocket. So it's like a nice little feature of the pages that we can have these inbuilt pockets. So I will use one of these pages as a base. So if you don't already have a page ready, what you can do is just cut out a piece of card, just a plain piece of paper. So for example, if this was a plain piece of paper and you folded it in half and you knew that you wanted all of your journal pages to be this shape, then you can then use this as a template when you are assembling your page. So I can't give you any measurements because this is totally up to you. If you want to make an A5 size page or an A4 size page or an A6 size page, it's completely up to you. So work out what measurements you want for your journal, and then get yourself a template to work from so that all your pages are the same size. So this could also be great if you're working with maybe an old book cover that you're making into a journal that is like a quite unique size. Then this is a great way of being able to have pages that will fit that. So I will use this page as my base. You'll then want to start looking through your papers and seeing which ones you want to use. And like I said, it doesn't matter what the size is, whether they are larger pieces or smaller pieces. So just go ahead and grab a bunch of different papers that you might want to use, and then we will collage them together into a page that we can use. So what I would suggest you do first is just lay out your papers without sticking anything down, and this is really helpful just to get an idea of what you want the page to look like once it's been constructed. And you'll just want to make sure that you've got some sturdy papers, and if they're a bit on the thin side, then you can always double up on the papers, a bit like we do with the master boards. And so you'll just want to work your way around your template, and anywhere you've got joins is where we are going to glue the pages together. So just be mindful of the center of your page, that you don't have too small of an overlap, because this is obviously where we're going to fold the page. So we don't want too much stress on the sort of spine of the piece of paper. So I'm just going to add this scrap here. And it doesn't matter if the edges aren't completely even, it kind of adds a nice effect to our page. So once you're happy with how your patchwork page layout is looking, the next thing we want to do is glue it down. And adding extra collage papers over the overlaps can help to strengthen your page so that you don't find that it's unbalanced if you've used some particularly thin papers within your patchwork page. So I'm just going to overlap this here just to make sure that we've got a nice join. And then you will have a page that you've constructed with different collage elements. So what you're then going to want to do is very gently, and just be mindful of any joins that you have got in those areas, is just fold your page in half. Press down on the edge. You could use a bone folder as well to do this if you have one to hand, just to give a nice crease. And there you can see we have our patchwork page. So if you've got any bits of papers that are flicking up, just glue those down so that they don't stick to anything. And then what you can do to these as well is you can add some washi tape along the joins, just to add some extra strength and then also some interest to your page. You could use like thick, wide washi tape for this, and just go where the join is. And then let's put this maybe along here like so. So that adds some extra strength and then also a little bit of nice patchwork interest to the page. And I'm just going to snip this off. So like I said, if you're finding that any part of your page is maybe more on the flimsy side, what I would recommend to do is just add some extra reinforcements. So for example, I'm just going to add an extra piece of tea stained paper just to this side of this piece of paper, because it's quite flimsy and I don't want it to get like torn or ripped off when we're using this page in a journal. I don't want to cover it all, but just adding this will just add some reinforcement to it. And I could also come in maybe with my grid, like, it's not washi tape, it's like a kind of roll of paper tape, I think. But it adds some really nice texture. So I could maybe add this along the side here. So this is really great for using lots of different scraps of papers, like I said, and also just having a really great base of a journal page to work from. So rather than having just one plain page, you've kind of got rid of the blank page fear by adding lots of different patterns and like layouts and things to your page. So I've just added that there, and I'm just going to trim along the edge here. So that is essentially our patchwork journal page, and then we can then add this into, for example, with this would go like this into a booklet of however many you'd want, and then this is how it would look with other pages. So you can see it adds a really nice interesting effect to journal pages. So to add some of these like built-in pockets to your pages, there's a couple of ways we can do this. So the first way I'll show you is if you have any like paper bags or even envelopes to use within your journal, then you can make them part of the patchwork page. So for example, I'm going to use this paper bag here that has a opening there, so that would be our pocket, and I'm just going to chop off the bottom section of this bag because it's quite bulky. This then is our piece that we're going to use, so whether you have this, a bag, an envelope, anything that's pre-made. And then essentially we'll do the exact same technique with gathering our different papers that we want to use within the journal page itself, so smaller bits, larger pieces. I really love this illustration, and again, this is something that would get cut off if I was to just normally cut the page in half. So I'm just going to take out this section of the illustration, and I'll show you how we can then work it into the page itself. So I just find that this patchwork technique is really fun, because you can get lots of different layouts and designs with different papers and things that you've got, and maybe what you want to work into the page, so something like this. So we're going to lay out our papers in the exact same way, and we're just going to bear in mind where our pocket is. So the opening of it is at the top here, so I'm going to place this just at the top about here, so it's below the top. You could add it to the top here, but I'll show you how we can add it here so that it's really built into the page. So we'll add it there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and work up my layout of pages, again bearing in mind where I've got my joins and things, so that I don't have any thin overlaps on the edges of these. So I'm going to put this as a nice corner piece here. I think that goes quite nicely around about there, and then I'm going to put this piece up the top here. And then let's put, this is quite thin, so what you can also do is fold your piece of paper in half and then glue it together to create like a sturdier base for your page. So once you get going with these patchwork pages, they're actually quite addictive to make, and you can make them, like I said, in any size that you want. So it's a really fun project to make and to see what different combinations that you can come up with. So I'm going to have this piece go across the center here because I know it's quite a sturdy piece. So we'll go maybe there, pop that underneath like so. And then we just need a few more gaps to fill. So I'm just going to grab some papers that I have tea dyed, and I'm going to pop this one underneath here. I think it's just about the right size. We might have a little gap to fill, but that's fine. So we'll go for about here, and I'm just going to pull this up because I know that I've got that nice print on the bag that I don't want to cover up completely. And so apart from a few little gaps, I think we can get going with assembling this page. So for the piece where you have your pocket, what you're going to want to do is line it up where you would like it with this piece, and you're simply going to just glue it to this page, just as if you were gluing any other scrap papers together. And then obviously the pocket then opens, and then we are going to, I might twist this around actually so it's here, and then I'm just going to then glue this to its second piece of paper, which is around about here. And I always tend to glue the middle bits, and then we can fuss about the edges once we have the page glued together. So you can see here we've stuck the pocket down as if it was part of the page, and we have our gap here. So what I'm going to do is just come in with some additional collage papers, and I'm just going to cover this part up so that nothing falls out of the pocket that we have created. You could also just glue it down, but I like adding an additional patchwork element so that it looks like it kind of is part of the patchwork page more. And so there, and then on the back we get the peek through of the design. And so then we're just going to carry on as normal with adding the rest of our page. And of course, if you wanted to add multiple pockets to your page, so maybe one on this side and one on this side, that's definitely something you can do. So I'm just going to add this piece to the center here. And the nice thing about having the patchwork look is that things overlapping really add to the effect. So it's okay if things overlap and aren't like completely straight. It's nice to create that patchwork effect. So then I'm going to pop this piece just on the corner here. So there's this bit of paper that is going to be overlapping. Just make sure that it's nice and straight and lined up. Add that there so you can see that's kind of the page that we've got at the moment. And so we just want to, I'll pull these out so you can see where we've got our gaps. You just want to fill in your gaps, and because we've got these kind of pieces in already, you can see where our gaps will be. So I'm going to use one of my favorites, the recycled brown paper packaging. Now this is quite thin, so I'm going to double up on this and glue a couple of pieces together. So I'm just going to fold this just so I can get a scrap of it here. And then I'm just going to work out where I would like to put it. So let's see. I'm thinking maybe here, and then I don't want to cover my illustration. But one of the key things to remember when you're assembling your pages is to make sure that you've left yourself enough room to overlap your papers, because that's what's holding everything together here. So you could either make sure you've got enough overlap or stick something over the top. So if you've got a piece where there's only a small join, then adding something over the top will help to give your page more structure. So I'm just going to add this piece, I think maybe here. So I'm going to need to just glue this together to reinforce it, especially because this is going to be on the join of the page as well. So we really want to make sure that there's a lot of strength in this section. So I would probably recommend using your strongest, like thickest papers across the spine, which will kind of bulk up if you're making a journal with like multiple pages. But when you're assembling papers like this, I think it's the best way to make sure that nothing breaks when you try to sew it all together. So I'm just going to overlap and stick that down, and then just run my glue along the top here. So that was really simple. And just make sure that's glued down there. And then you could always turn this round and reinforce it maybe with, I don't know, like a little scrap of paper here, just so that we make sure that everything is nice and sturdy. And then we just want to fill in this gap here. So I have this piece of paper which isn't quite going to be big enough, but we will add a section of it in here, and then I will add a section to the reverse side to make sure that we've got a sturdy corner, because the corners are obviously going to be kind of thumbed through the most, so we want to make sure that they are nice and strong, because that's quite flimsy at the moment, so we need to add something. I might take something like this and just take half of it. I think this is 2. This feels so thick that it's 2 pages, but I don't think it is. Okay, let's tear down that, and then we can just add this then on this section here. So nothing is like symmetrical or anything like that. We are truly making a patchwork. And if you have a sewing machine, you could also try like sewing around the different pieces. That would create a nice effect as well. So there's our second patchwork page. And I'm just going to add probably a bit of washi tape to this, just for some extra strength and also a bit of interest on our pages. So I've got this grid washi tape that I love to use. I'm going to pop that there, and then maybe this MT floral washi on the reverse. So we might pop it here, and it just adds to the patchwork effect of the pages. So let's add that there as well. And then what we want to do then is fold this just in half gently. And I think this is slightly wonky, but that's okay. We can trim this, or you can leave it as is. You know, it's nice to have different edges. And there we can see we have another patchwork journal page. Let me just pop this corner in there. So there we have another patchwork journal page, and you can see we've got our inbuilt pocket. So I'll show you one more, because I want to show you, if you don't have any envelopes or things to hand, that you can use the papers to create the tuck spots as you go. So I'll show you one maybe where we use a larger piece of paper. So let's use this one as a base. So I'm just going to again use the previous page that I have done as my working base, and I'm just going to do some larger pieces for this, and maybe use some larger book pages, just to show you that if you have larger pieces, there's no reason why you can't do this as well, and add on the smaller pieces as scraps afterwards. So for example, this one can be made with just 4 different pieces here. So we can add maybe this along here. Does it fit? Add it this way, like so. So there's only a couple of joins on this one. So to build in your pocket, all you're going to do is take your piece that you're going to be adding in, fold it upwards like this. So before you've glued it down, fold it upwards. Then you're going to want to take your glue and start gluing things together. So for example, we'll put a little bit of glue on this one. And again, there's no real kind of measurements or things like that. It's all working with the papers you've got. So whichever large piece you've got, you can fold upwards or fold to the side before you glue everything down. So get your layout first, then we can work on the fold. And then we're going to want to glue this piece to this corner, so that we've got this piece attached to this piece. Then we're going to want to use the glue on this join here, and then I'm just going to add my piece of paper just on this side. So I'm just going to glue down these sides here, and then attach my page to the corner. Then what we're going to want to do is put some glue along the edge here and here, where we have glued the page together, or where we have folded up the page. So here and here. So this is going to be our pocket, and I know I've covered the illustration on this, but that's okay. And then we are going to get some more paper, scraps or otherwise, and I am just going to cover the join that we've got here, which will help to strengthen our pocket. So I'm just going to add this here, and then we're essentially just going to work around this as if it's a normal piece of the patchwork papers then. So we're going to add this here like so, and then I'll just remove this so we can see where we've got left is this section here. So I'm just going to grab something that maybe contrasts a bit with this. So I'm just going to grab some text, and we are just going to glue this down onto this page. So I'm probably going to put it this way so we keep the little illustration there. We're just going to cover this, and then let's just add our glue here. Then you're just going to want to take some thinner paper just for this edge here and apply glue to the entire one side of it. And then just hold it up against the edge here like so, and fold it over so that we are securing that pocket, and we get a nice little patchwork on this side as well. And there we have our little built-in pocket. So you could add, for example, a little journal card or something in here, and it just creates a nice little addition to your journal page, and it's kind of like built into the page, if you will. So that goes down to there. So it's a really nice little feature that you can build into your pages. So we will just fold this one, and then I can show you then what we have created. So there you go, you can see that's where the page would fold, and we've got our nice little tuck spot here. So you just want to make sure you've used like a thicker piece of paper for this, and you could always maybe add like a little tab to this or some decoration, but you could use any papers you want. The principle is exactly the same. And you can see on this side then we've just got like a full sheet of the paper. So it's a really nice little built-in like secret pocket that you might not necessarily notice straight away. But like I said, you can just add the cards into, or maybe some like letters or things like that. And it's a really nice addition to your journal pages. So these are the patchwork pages, I'm going to call them, that we have created today. So this is the one if you already have an envelope, and there's lots of tutorials I've seen about making pockets and things for your journals. So what you could do once you have made the pockets and the envelopes is you can incorporate them into one of these patchwork pages. So rather than just adding it and sticking it to your journal page or adding it in a tuck spot, you can build it into your journal page and create a really nice textured, whoops, that piece is not glued down. You can add a really nice patchwork effect to your journals and have your pockets. Or if you don't want pockets, you could just have the plain versions as well. So I hope you've enjoyed, and maybe you'll try out this little patchwork project. It's a really fun technique to use. You can use washi tapes, all sorts of different things to create these patchwork pages, and then once you're finished, you can then assemble them into a journal. And I just think this is a really great way of making a unique looking journal with lots of different interest and papers and patterns. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this little tutorial from me and a little craft session. I just had to share this idea with you whilst I was creating it, so I hope you enjoy. And if you do have a go, do send me a photo over on Instagram. I make journals as well over there. I would love to see what you create. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.